when choosing a company I want to buy, there's one very important number not many people look at, but I always make sure to check it out before I buy it. And you can find it right here. Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Don't worry, I'm gonna show you where you're gonna find that figure right away. Because in today's video, I wanna run you through 5 platforms that I always use to check before I make any purchasing decisions. All these platforms are free, but of course they also have a paid component to it. But usually I'm more than happy with the free plan. And I think it's important to share because often people ask me, Kai, where can I find good information about which stocks to buy, how the company is doing, especially right now when the markets are actually really down. It's a great buying opportunity to buy them at a discounted rate before hopefully very soon, touch wood, they will go up again. Starting with the first one, which is seekingalpha.com. And I really love the website. They do have a premium plan where you can pay for it, but actually with the free plan, you get all the information you need to make any investment decisions. For this exercise, I'm going to be looking at Apple, so you kind of see the same information across the board, across different websites, and you can kind of get an idea what you like and what you don't like, and if it is useful for you. So obviously you pop in the company over here, it comes up with Apple, you see the current price, and over here, it's a very simple and basic graph. They also have a more sophisticated graph if you click on advanced, but for me, I'm always happy with the basic, and I just want to see the trend, the overall direction of a specific stock or company. And what I really like right off the bat here is that it shows you the numbers of movements over a year, for example. So since 1 year, it moved up by 2.45%. Now year to date, since the beginning of the year, obviously it's been a tough year for many stocks out there, including crypto. It dropped by more than 17%. All right, so if I want to say, what about 5 years, right? I can see, well, actually 5 years, it's almost a 300% return, almost 3x. If you invest 1,000, you would have gotten back 3,000. So that's really, really good. And of course, the longer we go, you can see over 10-year horizon, that's almost 5x of your returns. So this is basically all I need for the charting tool over here. Then as usual, you have your sort of analysis where there's different websites where you can click into and see what certain analysts are saying about the stock or specifically the company. And of course, any news that are relevant. But I actually like for the news section some other websites because I don't know if it's good news or negative news. And there are some websites that show you, are they bullish news or bearish news? So you get an idea of what people are saying and the sentiment towards the stock. Here I have a very brief rating summary, but actually I prefer other websites for that as well. And I'll show you in a second which ones. And yeah, you see the company profile, what it is, a brief graphical overview of the revenues plus revenue estimates. So you can see how revenues have been developing over the years, plus earnings per share. So once again, very visual, which I always prefer because I can easily see the trend. Am I buying at the top? Is it the bottom? So it just gives you a visual representation of how things are going. Then of course you have the earnings estimates of predicted earnings. This is basically analyst predictions for future earnings. Then you have certain valuation metrics over here, certain growth metrics, profitability, which is very important because we've seen in bull markets that companies growing like crazy, their valuations are going through the roof, they make great revenues, but actually in terms of profitability, they're very, very low. And then when we hit bear market territory, those companies start to struggle because they're not generating cash. So they basically can't survive difficult times. So I always make sure I look at gross profit margin and EBIT margin because that shows you how financially healthy a company is, because ultimately a company needs to generate profits, not just revenue. The capital structure, how much debt they have, total debt, how much cash, that's always important as well. You want to have a company that has some cash. Now obviously startup companies, they usually have less cash available because they reinvested for R&D, but as you can see, Apple still sits on $48 billion, which, you know, is a healthy margin. Dividends, in case you're looking for a company that pays you passive income, which is great. And Apple started a few years ago to pay. Normally tech companies don't pay dividends, but Apple has started. It's still a small one, 0.61%, but still, right? Plus the dividend history. And as I said, you know, usually dividends are supposed to be growing over the years. That gives additional confidence for the investors, so showing that in the long term, those companies look actually very positive. Quick overview of the ownerships, who owns what, institutions, etc. You can see majority of the stock is owned by institutions, and then you have a few insiders, etc. And then we come to the number that I said at the beginning of the video. For me, is super, super important, and that is the short interest. That number basically tells you how many of owners of the share of Apple are betting against it, basically shorting the stock, betting on falling prices, because they make money when the stock price falls. So the higher that number is, let's imagine an extreme case where 10% of holders of that stock bet against it, I would be very scared, because obviously a lot of these people will focus to come up with negative news to drive the price down, because in that case they will make money. So the lower this number is, it gives confidence that people actually bet on long-term appreciation of the stock. The higher that number is, it means more people want the stock to fail, to go down. And that for me as an investor hoping on increasing prices is really scary. So normally I stay away from stocks that have a short interest of above 2%. But it's something you have to figure out yourself. You can see different companies. Of course, certain stocks like Tesla have a higher short interest and more established companies have usually a lower short interest. But always make sure to find it, and you can see it right here. And then you have a few transcripts from the last earnings call, because they have quarterly earnings calls, and that can be interesting. Press releases, SEC filings, income statement, balance sheet. So you have all of them here, and you can click into them if you want to see more details, the cash flow statement, etc. There's even way more you can go up here in terms of ratings. But to be honest, with Seeking Alpha, now most of the other things, as you can see, are all paid features. In that way, I think the main summary page is the most insightful. Right, with this, let's move to the second page, which I'm sure all of you are aware of, is Yahoo Finance. That's really a classic that has been around for many, many years, but still a really powerful tool that I always make sure to check before buying any stocks. Very simple, you pop in the company you're looking for over here. In this case, once again, Apple, to have an apple-to-apple comparison. And a lot of the information will be fairly similar, but they do have certain things that Seeking Alpha and other pages don't have. Now, in terms of graph, it's fairly similar once again, but here you can see if you click the different time intervals, you don't see immediately how much the price has moved. And I like to see that here. One thing I really like about this graph though is when you click onto it, it opens in the full graph. And here I really enjoy the comparison feature. So for example, if I click on here and I want to add Tesla, I can select the color I want to see Tesla. I'll make it in red to have a good contrast, save. And then you can see here, let's say over a 2-year interval, I can see how much the prices have changed. And here it actually shows me the percentages. So in 2 years, Tesla grew by 112% versus Apple only grew by 33%. So it's a really nice visual representation. You could even add a third company to see how different companies trend over time. So I think that's really, really powerful. But if you only want to have a quick glance, then I think Seeking Alpha provides a nicer interface. Other than that, you see here also consolidated information, fairly similar to what we've seen before. And then I really like that they usually have some kind of videos around the company as well. So if you look for Apple, you see Apple related videos, and that's nice to have a bit more interactive rather than just articles. And then to the side, you have some nice graphics. One is recommended trends, and that's kind of a consolidation of different analyst ratings. You can see here how it changed over the month, over the last few months, and what it is. A lot of people are saying either it's a strong buy or a buy. So you can easily see most people saying it's a buy. It's again just an analyst recommendation, but it gives you confidence that obviously, hopefully they know what they're saying. And you see it also over here where you have sort of a 1.9 out of 5. So more or less more people saying definitely go for buying the stock right now. And of course the analyst price targets, which is once again consolidated. Some analysts saying it might reach $122. Currently it's 150, but there's a high upside, might reach 220, and the average actually says 182. Here you have some news, at least it's more visual than Seeking Alpha. You have some pictures, some indication of what it is if you want to read it. Then you have charts, we clicked on this before. Then you can click over here on statistics, and then you have a few more statistics we have seen also on Seeking Alpha. So yeah, kind of consolidated. You see here also the short interest once again is presented, short percentage of float. So yeah, pretty much similar information we've seen before. Historical data kind of shows you all the different prices for the past, the profile, the company profile. If you want to learn more about it, who's the CEO, etc., you can get a bit of better insight into the company as such. Financials. Here are all the financials of the company from their earnings report. So if you want to go into that, you can see that over here, plus some more analysis from the current year, plus estimates for next year. In case you trade options, you also have some more information here, but I don't do option trading. And what's quite interesting is holders. And you can see all the majority holders, what we've seen before, but then also more specifically who are institutional holders. You can see Vanguard. Actually, I'm buying my stocks through Vanguard, so that's good to see that they're a big holder, actually the biggest one of Apple. But then interestingly, you can also click into Inside Roster and you see here individual holders and their most recent transactions. So when you see a lot of the inside people selling, then you might ask yourself, maybe it's a sign and you want to wait because most likely they know more than us that potentially the stock might drop even further. Otherwise, why would they be selling right now, right? If they knew it would go up, they wouldn't sell. So that's a good indication as well. And then you have insider transactions where you get even more deep dive into what the insiders of the company, employees, so to say, are doing with their stocks and shares. So that's really good to look at and see what's happening, because yeah, if everybody sells, probably it's not the best time to buy right now. Right, moving along to the third page I usually use is Wallmine.com. So once you select the company from here, in this case, once again, Apple, you have really most of the information we've seen before, but really on a one pager, which I quite enjoy. Rather than having to click around, you see everything very consolidated. Now, if you're buying stocks for the first time, I think that page can be a little bit overwhelming because it's so much information. Usually when you hover over everything, I also enjoy that it explains you every single thing, because some of those numbers I even didn't know, that when you click over it, you have a quick explanation on what it is and what it means. So that's really, really powerful and helps you to better understand those numbers. And other than that, yeah, a lot of the similar things we've seen before, just differently presented. You have here the Apple news from different dates, etc. And quite nice, you can see here per day, let's say on that day, things went up, so you can see the news around it, why it went up. Then when the stocks went down, basically again, maybe there was certain information that led towards the drop. So if you're a trader, you can start seeing patterns when certain news happen, the stocks react a certain way. So that's quite powerful to kind of study the company. You have your notable SEC filings, etc. Recent insider tradings by Apple. Once again, you can see here a lot of people selling. So yeah, you may ask yourself, probably not the best time to buy it right now. And then this graph over here is also really interesting. It shows you how many people on Robinhood own Apples. So that's kind of the retail investors' sentiment, so to say. So you can see a lot of people got really interested, and now that the price starts tumbling and the markets cool down, immediately people drop off. So it gives you a great indication as well of what's happening with the stock. Once again, some overall analyst ratings similar to what we've seen before, the price target, and you can see the slightly different average, and that's just because different analysts give different predictions and not everybody uses the same pool. So they may use different analysts than Yahoo Finance. So that's why it's always good to check different pages so you get different ideas. Once again, Apple executives, etc. Apple dividend history, some more graphs over here, cash flow, etc. The income statement, annualized, you can always change from quarterly to annual, the balance sheet, institutional shareholders once again, and recent institutional transactions. So that's also very good, which other pages haven't seen us. Institutional transactions are very important because we've seen before that institutions are actually the biggest holder of Apple stock. So if they make moves, that's really powerful for the stocks. So that's why this is great to see. If some are buying, some are selling, you can get an indication of what's happening there. Next up, we have Tipranks. Now, Tipranks in many ways is very similar to other websites as well. There's nothing really completely new, just differently presented, but still I like to check it from time to time. You get a smart score where they kind of take different sentiments and put it into their own score, and as you can see, very much outperforming and a very good score obviously. So that's and from their side very much a buy. The graph is similar like we had others, Apple News. So you see a lot of the websites have similar flow to it, just differently presented, and you will see which one resonates more with you and which one you like better. Analyst forecast, so that's a very easy visual representation of what analysts are saying. The price is here right now, and once again, the high side, the average, and on the low side. So that's really good. A lot of the other things are actually behind the paywall, so you have to go to premium, but you still have some more free features like insider trading. You can see, are people buying or selling? The news and insights, once again, a dedicated page for that. Crowd wisdom, that's kind of using social media and analyzing what the people are saying, mostly retail investors. You can even have it by demographics, so people under 35, how their holdings changed, people between 35 and 55, and over 55. So really nice way to segregate and see how different people in different demographics think about a particular stock. Earnings, once again, similar to other pages, just like dividends, just, very good way to see and visual representation of what's happening with the stock. And you see, you get more information for free here than you got on Seeking Alpha. So sometimes certain things are behind the paywall on one web page, but if you go to another one, you get actually the information for free. So that's why I like to have 5 different pages so I can jump around and usually get most of the stuff I want for free. Website traffic is also a very powerful tool because you can see how much a website gets more traffic, and more traffic usually means to more revenue, and more revenue is good for the stock price. It gives you a good idea of what's happening, where the growth comes from, the user geography. Really, really good, and something I haven't seen other pages doing. And lastly, we have Simply Wall Street, which is yet another platform that I always use. They kind of dissect it into value, future, past, health, and dividend, and you can see immediately what's happening to a particular stock. And they kind of really always have the same graph, which they break it down. And I like it because it's kind of broken down like a chapters in the book. You can see and go by flow. You can either scroll to that particular thing, you can see here how it changes, or you can click directly into dividends, for example, and it takes you into the dividend sections where you get a specific breakdown of that particular stock and really some more information that other websites don't have. Just once again, always make sure you cross-reference different pages and make sure all the information is aligned. And for me, I prefer visual graphs than looking at some of the dry numbers we've seen on Wallmine. But then again, some informations are available on other websites that are not available on here. So always good to cross-reference across different platforms. What I really like that they interpret the numbers for you. So you can see immediately the sentiments. For example, for the analyst future growth, you can see here what is positive, what people are saying. And then you can also see what is negative, highlighted in red. And they interpret these numbers and actually contextualize them. So I really enjoyed it as well. And yeah, the graphs are super powerful and much cleaner than some of the other websites we've seen before. So there you have it, guys. Those are the 5 pages I use the most whenever I buy any stock or just want to check in and see how my stocks are doing. All of those websites also have apps, so you can easily download download them to your phone and check them on the go. There are probably way more websites out there that offer similar information, and if you have any good recommendations that you use, let me know in the comments. I'm always happy to learn and check out new pages. Check out the video over here if you want to learn how I track all my stocks online for free. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, it means the world to me. As always guys, thank you so much for watching, stay healthy, get wealthy, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!